Hello and welcome to IBTimes TV. I'm Leanna Brinder, Business Editor for the International Business Times. Joining me now is Simon Hall. He's the Managing Director of Cosgrove, Hall, Fitzpatrick Media Group. So hi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we've got a very exciting subject we're talking about today. We're talking about kids' TV, and of course it's a very lucrative business. And your group has actually been one of the key people behind very well-known names and personal favourites like Danger Mouse and Wind in the Willows. So looking back at the 80s, was that when the business industry around children's programming really took off?
It did, but in a different way. That in the 80s, we didn't used to license shows. So actually Danger Mouse in those days had no toys. We had far more viewers available because we only had 3 channels. There was BBC One, BBC Two and ITV, even Channel 4. So Danger Mouse had circa 21 million viewers a week. That's a huge amount of viewers. And it made its returns in those days via advertising and commercials. It didn't make returns via toys. So the industry from the late 70s, early 80s has completely changed and completely moved.
Well, moving on to that subject, I mean, children's programming really has experienced a renaissance recently. Why is that?
Well, I think children's programming, everyone recognises the profitability in it, that you get a success at Peppa Pig, say, or Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder's allegedly, Keith Chapman's on record saying in 14 years, it's made £4 billion worth of turnover. Well, that's a lot of money. Peppa Pig is estimated to make £200 million a year from merchandise. I'm a parent. I've got a 7 and 9-year-old. There's surveys out where 93% of parents say they have bought toys from children's shows, children's related shows. In the UK alone, it's a £2 billion a year industry buying those products. So I think fundamentally the amount people can make with successes is there. But I think in the UK, we are particularly good at storytelling. And I think the quality we get from the UK, not just my company, Aardman's, people like that, there's McKinnon Saunders, the quality we get from our animators, our storytellers, is world class. So our ability to sell product worldwide is huge. We will on average sell to 80 to 120 territories around the world. That's a lot of people you can sell to. And once you've sold those shows to those countries, you can then sell product. So we can sell toys, we can sell educational product books, things like that. So you can back it up as such with other ways of entertaining children. So where I'd say we've changed is in 1980, people watched a programme and it was a TV show, it was entertainment. Children now want more. They want to engage, they want to interact. They want to be taken on that journey. And the TV show or the film is one element, but then there's a lot of other elements to it too.
Sure. There has been a fundamental shift in terms of the way the merchandise or the branding around a children's programme has come to the fore over the past, I would say, 10 years. Why would you say that's happened? Has there been new legislation or is there more understanding on how to broaden those brands in order to get the billions of pounds of extra revenue from it?
I think there's a reality. Children's programmes cost an awful lot of money to make. They're probably some of the dearest programmes on TV. They take circa 2 years to make and bring out, and you'll have roughly £5 million budgets for 52 10-minute shows. So there's a reality to that. TV companies cannot pay that kind of money to make shows. They won't make a return. And we make returns from other sources, from licensing our product out. So it's seen much more of a business now than just storytelling. We have to tell stories. We have to let the children believe, because without any of that, the business, quite frankly, won't work. You can't make a child buy a product they don't like. When I've tried to get my kids to buy other things, they'll go, no, we want this or that because we've seen it or we're playing with it, Moshi Monsters or those kinds of things. I think that reality of how much it costs physically has driven the market to how do you get a return? Well, we get a return via toys. So therefore, we've got to do other things. And those toys might be apps, they might be web worlds, they might be books. But physically, we have to get a return from that. And that's what's moved the market.
Okay. Well, I mean, a good example to show the shift between, or maybe you can detail a bit more about licensing, is that CHF previously, like we said, had a big stand on launching Danger Mouse 20 years ago, and now it's being relaunched. But are you involved in that? And if not, why is that the case?
Fundamentally, we were owned by a broadcaster 20 years ago. We're not in any way involved in it. We were owned by a broadcaster 20 years ago, well, over 30 odd years ago. There was Thames TV. They completely owned us. They owned the rights. So Brian Cosgrove created it. Brian Truman wrote it. My dad, Mark Hall, was one of the producers on the show. Actually, when I started in the business as a runner, I started on Danger Mouse itself. But it was always owned by a broadcaster. So it's now owned by Fremantle. Fremantle are I believe, going to make it. For us, it's great that there's still an interest in it. For Brian, he loves the fact people still love it. I don't think there'd have been a desire by Brian Cosgrove after all these years to want to remake it. I think he wants to do new things and go on to new things. He probably feels his time's done with Danger Mouse, and he wishes Fremantle treat it with the respect we would, and from the fan base, what they would expect as well.
Okay. And talking about moving on to new things, I mean, there's been a, massive shift in terms of the way even cartoons or children's programming looks. And there seems to be a real appetite for very cutesy 3D or a bit more of that sharper animation. Do you see that as the major growth area?
It is in certain areas. I'd say CGI, 3D has its place, and we've got a couple of shows coming up that will be CGI. We've got a new show at the minute that's very much 2D, a bit like a pop-up book style. It's more like Peppa Pig, for instance, is 2D. Children in the 2 to 5 market, the preschool market that my show Pip, or one of my shows Pip, is in, do they care whether it's CGI or 2D? Do they know? I don't know. What they care about are great designs, colour, and great storytelling. Without those elements, you need the storytelling, because children sit down to stories. Show them nice images with it, and that backs that up. I'm going to the market in a few weeks' time. I'm sure that most of it, a lot will be CGI, because there's a lot coming out of China and India that's CGI. And it has its place. The 6 to 10 market is probably more prevalent, but it's storytelling.
Sure. Well, I suppose to round off and to see where the appetite is for British children's programming, you say there's 120 territories that usually roughly that you license out. But where do you see the main, when you bring something out or when you want the marketing to be sent over, where do you see the appetite from people wanting to go, yes, that's what we want. They want the merchandise, they want the branding, they want bits and bobs out there? Well,
traditionally our strong markets with the team we've got have been the US for a start. We've got Francis Fitzpatrick that created Jakers, and that was huge in the States and won 7 Emmys in its own right. Australia's a big market for us, Spain's a big market. Europe as a whole, we've always done very well in. And the beauty of animation, of course, is that you can revoice it in any language. So it doesn't, none of my shows I would say are UK specific. Even Pip, that's set by a beautiful seaside, there's palm trees in it. Children will be engaged. The trains and the lighthouse are designed so they can look like anywhere in the world. The lighthouse is actually based on an American lighthouse. So we do concentrate a bit on, with the toy companies, because it would be wrong and unfair to say our designers create something that can't be a toy. We actually work with the toy companies in the design of the show, in the sense that we've got a design, we look at it, we create it, and then the toy company will say whether they feel that will work or not. They're not guaranteeing children will buy it, they're saying whether it can be made as a toy. Because anyone can design a show, but you've got to design other things going forward of that. I feel that that particular market allows us to go and sell a programme anywhere in the world. We have a team, a distribution team. We've just signed a deal with Headway, Headway Lot, that are going to be out in the market pre-selling our show in Pip. Our show of hieroglyphics, we'll sell it around the world. That's a stepping stone. Once we've done that, our education platform kicks in, and that kicks into the country as well. That's another stepping stone. Once that kicks in, toys can start going onto shelves. So it's a process that starts with the TV programme, but it certainly doesn't end there. That will be country specific, because it'll be language specific, that will go into those territories too.
Okay, well that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And that was Simon Hall. He's the Managing Director of Cosgrove Hall Fitzpatrick Media Group.